Hey, readers, it's time for part two of May's anticipated reads. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for coming back. Thanks for your comments thus far on part one. I am going to get to all of them for sure, but I have really enjoyed your reactions to this list and some of the other things that you have mentioned that you would like to take a look at. This is a great month. You know, summer does ramp up to a place where there's a lot of possibilities for you to read, and so this is sort of the beginning, the precipice of summer reading, and I am just blown away. So this next few that I'm going to share with you are quite enticing. Let's just say this is going to be a difficult month for my pocketbook. Do we still call them pocketbooks? Wallet? You know what I mean. I'm going to have to go to my library a lot. I'm going to have my library just literally buy all the books that I put on a list. I mean, that's ridiculous. And Richard, if you're watching, I would never do that. But it's occurred to me that I can get an interlibrary loan. It's all going to be fine because I'm not going to overspend and I'm not going to overbuy, but I am going to share with you the books that come out starting on May 20th. And so now we're starting with some crazy speculative fiction, fantasy kinds of titles. That's where we begin. So on May 20th, the first one on my list, let me put my glasses on in case I have to look at my notes, is The Memory Collectors by D.T. Meserve. I'm going to have to look that up because I don't want to pronounce that wrong. It's pronounced Diet in the United States. It's Slovenian, but it's Deta in that country. I don't know about the Meserve part though. Speculative fiction for strangers go back to the past because they've been given the chance to do so for an hour and they've all signed up for this product that someone is pushing. Elizabeth goes back because she wants another hour with her son who died. Andy is wanting to find his first love who vanished, and he has just thought about this romance ever since. And Logan is wanting to surf and rock climb and do some fun things like that. And Brooke is looking for an hour's relief of guilt from something that happened in a mistake that she made years ago. So the invention that this guy has created allows people to spend an hour back in their past, and they're able to choose when they want to go back, right? And then come back after that. The problem, though, is they don't come back after the hour. Yeah, they're stuck. And their paths then start to intertwine, which then, of course, means their whole history changes, right? Yeah, this is quite interesting the way that it is developed. Their experiences in the past are not only intertwined, but they're all going to experience, I think, the same difficult thing. And it sounds like it goes off the rails. But this is billed as a book for fans of Wrong Place, Wrong Time, which ironically I just finished, and The Paradox Hotel, which I've not read. But it does sound like an interesting, explosive plot. And if it's as fast-paced as Wrong Place, Wrong Time, which was predominantly fast-paced for me, I have been a little bit slumpy myself, so it's really more about me than that book, but it was pretty fast-paced. And so if that's the case, this would be a really great read, I think. Then another one, Aftertaste by Dana Lavelle, comes out also on May 20th. This is a fantasy. So the premise of this, the first question in the setup is, what if you could have one last meal with someone you loved, someone you've lost? And this one is sort of comped to Under the Whispering Door, as well as a book about culinary delights, which is called Sweet Bitter, and I have not read that or heard of it before this. But it's a love story, but it's also they're also saying it's a dark comedy and an adventure through food and grief. Can you imagine? So Constantine is a man whose father died when he was really young, and he has this relationship with ghosts ever since. They're sort of always around him, and he can't see them, but he can perceive what the ghost's favorite foods were. So then he decides, if I know that spirits are around because of the food they taste, what if I'm able to help people who are trying to connect with their family members who have passed on by working with them through the food that they're eating. So seeing if he could do this with other people, and then while they're eating that food, the ghost would show up. So he starts to do this, and then apparently some things backfire, or he just gets maybe too big for this experience. I'm not sure. That's a little vague, but what I do know is this is billed as a love story and a grieving story and a ghost story about the ways in which we are hungering for things and how far we would go to satisfy that hunger is really the tagline for this. And I think that that also sounds quite remarkable. And what a unique plot. I mean, both of these authors have really created something that is, I think, very unique. Then Sarah Pinborough, whom I have read. I think I've only read one book by Sarah Pinborough. This one is a horror gothic ghost story as well. It's called We Live Here Now. Emily and her husband moved from London to Dartmoor, which is a country place, I guess, and they moved to a place called Larkin Lodge. Emily's had an accident that nearly kills her, so she's really kind of shaken by all of that, and so they move away to just kind of get a new start, I guess. And she realizes that she loves this house, but also something isn't right about this house. So things creak and move, and there's noises, and there's, I think, things that are falling, if I remember. She's just having all these kind of paranormal experiences, but only Emily is. Her husband is not. It's only when she's there by herself. So obviously there's some people that have lingered in this house, and she finds out, or just believes, I guess, that somebody was probably murdered there. And so she's going to have to figure out what happened, save herself. She's kind of obsessed now about trying to find out what happened to this house. And that sounds like, I have to have that. I have to read it. The Last Fairy Out by Andrea Bartz. These are all a little bit spooky, creepy, thrillery. Andrea Bartz is the sister of Julia Bartz, and I have one of her books on my shelf. You might be able to see it, that I haven't read. This one is about a tropical island, going on a trip to this island because her fiance died. When she gets to the island, it doesn't look at all what she had anticipated an island would look like, or this particular island would look like. It's been kind of ravaged by a hurricane, and it's really just not in good shape. But she befriends a bunch of expats who are there. She meets somebody who says that, I think it's a he, knows about what happened the last days of Esther's life. And then that person disappears. And she has no idea what happened to, I think it's a him. And so now she's absolutely determined to find out who the killer is. And she starts to suspect that the killer is maybe one of her expat friends. We shall see. Then on the 27th, and the next two are book related, so that's always fun. The Martha's Vineyard Beach and Book Club by Martha Hall Kelly. This is historical fiction set in a dual timeline, although the present day timeline is more like 2016, so it's a little bit farther from now as well. But this is being billed as a book that people who liked the Lilac Girls will like this, and Fiona Davis has blurbed it as a beautiful, dreamy beach book. I do think that it could be that. This synopsis is really kind of interesting, so I'm going to read it to you because it's a little complex and I don't want to get it wrong. So the 2016 timeline, 34-year-old Mari Starwood is grieving after her mother's death as she travels to Martha's Vineyard off the coast of Massachusetts. I am leaving out some words, by the way. She's come all the way from California with nothing but a name on a piece of paper. Elizabeth Devereux, the famous but reclusive vineyard painter, is the name on the paper. So when Mari makes it to Mrs. Devereaux's stunning waterfront farm, under the guise of taking a painting class with her, Mrs. Devereaux begins to tell her the story of the Smith sisters who once lived there. As the tale unfolds, Mari is shocked to learn that her relationship to the island runs deeper than she ever thought possible. And so now in 1942, the Smith sisters, 19-year-old Cadence and 16-year-old Briar, who is war obsessed, are faced with the impossible task of holding their falling family farm together, during World War II as the army arrives on Martha's Vineyard. When Briar spots German U-boats lurking off the island shores and Cadence falls into an unlikely romance with a sworn enemy, their quiet lives are officially upended. In an attempt at normalcy, Cadence and her best friend Bess start a book club, which grows both in members and influence as they connect with a fabulous New York publisher who could make all of Cadence's dreams come true. But all that is put at risk by a mysterious man who washes ashore and whispers of a spy in their midst. Who in their tight-knit island community can they trust? Could this little book club change the course of the war before it's too late? Does that sound like a punch of a like that is a lot of stuff in one synopsis. So I almost didn't include this one, except that it was so fascinating the way that this was weaved in this synopsis. It will either be very well done and it will all just flow together in a way that makes sense, or it will just be completely chopped and hard to follow. And so you tell me which one you think is true. However, I love a book about books. You know I do. You know I do. So there's a lot going on in this book, which is the BusyBody Book Club by Freya Sampson. It's a cozy mystery. There's always a lot going on in cozy mysteries, I think, as well. But there are 5 members of this book club. They're set in Cornwall, and Nova is the one who started the book club. And apparently they're a little disagreeable, these folks, but they meet together, frequently. However, the community center that they meet in suddenly has a bunch of money missing, and obviously they're at risk for being, accused of having taken this money. And so while she's dealing with that, Michael discovers, he's a book club member, Michael discovers a body in his house, and then Michael disappears after. And the police think, obviously, that he's killed this person, and the book club thinks, no, Michael could not have done that. And then they have Phyllis, who's an Agatha Christie super fan, and she's determined to prove that he's a murderer and the thief of the money from the community center. So it sounds like a raucous little romp, but they all apparently, as you would not be surprised to hear, have some secrets that they'd rather aren't revealed. So at the same time, they're trying to kind of protect themselves. I think it sounds just like a delightful, fun romp. And again, I don't know that I would buy this one. I do think that it would be cute. And I've never read anything by that author. So Freya Sampson has written a number of other cozies. So if this one is good, it may turn out that I would get a few more of those. She's from England, and yeah, this would be a new author to me for sure. Stephen King, not a new author to me, has a new book coming out as well, and that one is called Never Flinch. This is the Holly Gibney series number 4. A lot of people really like the Holly Gibney series. I know a lot of people who are not necessarily planning to read it. I have one of them, I think, on my shelves, but I haven't gotten to it yet. Mr. Mercedes, I think, is the one I have. So I don't know if these need to be read in order. That might be a question for each of you if you have read them. Scott probably has. He would probably know. But this one is set in the same place. I'm not going to say a whole lot about it because I don't know if there's any spoilers for this, but it's set at the Buckeye City Police Department, and they get a letter from someone saying that they're going to kill 13 innocent people and 1 guilty person. I'm not sure why they would kill the innocent people as well, but it sounds almost like this was a jury, but I'm not certain. But they're trying to atone for the needless death of an innocent man, apparently. So Izzy Janes is the person who is, I think, assigned to this case, and then Holly somehow comes in to support her. My father always finds corpses is the title of this book by Rick Kopp. Rick Kopp wrote the Golden Girls screenplays and also the Brady Bunch movie. He's a screenwriter and he's now a cozy mystery writer. So this one is really interesting, as they all are, but this one is about Jared Jarvis. And Jared was a film star at one point, a young child star. And years ago, he found a body, he found a dead person. But worse than that, he lost his partner, Charlie. And so he's grieving over that and trying to just kind of lay low. And he's been a little bit estranged from his daughter, Liv, in the process. He directs local theater and does some things, but he's just kind of not connecting to her for sure. Meanwhile, though, Liv has a recent degree in criminal justice, and she is also with a guy named Zell, her boyfriend Zell. And Zell is a filmmaker, and he's decided that he's going to make a documentary about who Liv's surrogate mother was. He's going to find the surrogate mother, and he's going to film all of this. Well, Liv is not pleased with all that. So she goes to his apartment to basically say, stop it. I don't want this. This is not I don't give you permission to do this. But Zell is dead in his apartment. So she calls her dad because she's not sure what to do about that. And together, they begin to try to investigate what happened to Zell and who killed Zell. It brings up the word Columbo in the synopsis. So apparently he's kind of maybe a bit of a Columbo-like character, the dad is, and Liv is kind of his sidekick. So it does sound cute and cozy, and I don't know, there was just something about that title that made me make sure to bring it here because, I mean, that's a pretty good title. And then the last one is Mansion Beach by Meg Mitchell Moore. You may have heard about this one. It is a modern take on a classic that may be in the midst of its anniversary this year. So it's kind of perfect timing. They probably timed it this way on purpose. So this is about Nicola, who ends up going to Block Island, which is in Rhode Island. And she's ready to rest and reflect and kind of have a new start, but then discovers that her neighbor has these raucous, fancy parties, and it's loud and difficult. And she's obviously also being asked to join the parties because she's living right next door. Yes, you're getting there. And so she meets Juliana, who's a CEO, very rich woman, and probably experiencing some challenges in the work that she's doing, and Taylor Buchanan, who is a real estate kind of mogul. And so the three of them are connected together as a result of these parties. And it says it's a sophisticated escapist novel filled with light humor and surprising observations. Mansion Beach explores the depth of human relationships, our cruelly classist society, and the price of secrets that refuse to stay buried. If you know which retelling this might be, you can put it in the comments below. I'm not going to spoil it. I will say that the book that this is maybe retelling is a kind of polarizing one. People have either loved it or did not love it. So I will be curious to see how this one goes and to start reading some of the comments as people start reading it. I'm very curious about it, but it is a book that I read the original one. And yeah, I think it might work. It might work. It's hard to say, but yeah. So that is the end of my May anticipated reads for 2025. This has been quite a journey, but I have really enjoyed it. I've taken my time. I have really gone through a lot. Now, let me just say there are a bunch of books that are not on this list. 20 books I have presented to you, and I will tell you that there's probably at least 20 more that I could have talked about. Let me know in the comments below which of these are exciting to you, which books you're also thinking about getting that aren't on this list, and which books you know for sure you would just never read. Because there are a couple that I'm like, but some of those creepy, ghosty, villainy ones, I might get there. And the cozies. I might get to the cozies. Thanks so much for watching, readers. I appreciate all of you so, so very much. Thanks for liking these videos, subscribing, commenting, sharing, both here on YouTube as well as on Instagram, Facebook, wherever you find me. And as always, happy reading. Bye.